I'm Annie Gishuru, and welcome to Uplifting Studios TV, where I bring you inspiring stories, guest interviews, and tips to help you unshackle your self-limiting beliefs so you can begin to live a life with purpose and impact. So if you're new here or you're returning for this brand new season, be sure to subscribe and click on the little bell so that you never miss an episode. Now today my guest is the absolutely wonderful Sally Hewitt. And if you've been following me on my socials for a little while now, you'll know that she is a dear friend. Sally is here to share her story. She tragically lost her husband about 10 years ago, and Sally has been able to turn her pain into gain and is now living a life of gratitude. Sally, welcome to Uplifting Studios TV.
Thank you, Annie. It's just lovely to be here with you.
So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about growing up in England, your family, and some of the values that were instilled in you from an early age.
Well, Annie, I was very, very fortunate. I came from a beautiful, big, extended family. I'm from the southwest of England, so I was born on the Devon-Somerset border in that sort of area there, beautiful part of England. And I have two siblings, so my immediate family, there were the five of us, but I have a big extended family on either side. Both my parents had many siblings, so I had lots of cousins. I was fortunate enough that both my grandparents were alive and lived close by, so it was a lovely big mix of family and friends. And because it was a small village, there was a lot of community. So I grew up in a very community-based situation and we were very close as a family, close as a family. And yeah, Christmases and birthdays and things were great fun.
Very special.
Very special. And the only blip actually on my perfect childhood, really, it was very idyllic, was that because we were in a very small village and because both my parents valued education, they wanted to give my siblings and myself the best education that they could afford. And so that actually meant going away to boarding school.
Wow.
So my personality was not really the right one for boarding school. And I must admit, I missed home most of the time. But I made some beautiful friends, and I have one friend in particular that we are still really close, even though she's still in the UK, and of course now I'm living in Western Australia. We were bridesmaids for each other, and we're still very, very close. Known each other since we were 11, and still very close today in our 50s.
So how old were you when you went to boarding school?
Oh, I was young. I first started to go weekly boarding when I was 9. But full-time boarding when I was 11, because high school in the UK back then started at aged 11. So yes, it was young. I used to really look forward to coming home, I can tell you.
For the holidays.
Really, really look forward to coming home.
So fast forward to all grown up and working and meeting Russell, your husband,
Yes.
But before you guys got married. So tell us that story of meeting him and how that was.
It was a beautiful meeting. Well, when I was, I think I was 15, I had my 16th birthday in Jersey. My parents actually left the mainland UK and moved to the Channel Islands. Jersey is a small island just off the coast of France. Right. It is the biggest of the Channel Islands. So they moved there, and I was still at school, so I moved with them. And I was actually home on one school holidays, because again, I was boarding, so I was actually flying to and from school then. And I was home this one holidays, and my mum came home and she said, "Oh, there's this hairdresser at the salon that I go to. You really should go. He's just come back from Europe, and he's, so I went. And I still remember the first meeting. I walked in for my hair appointment, and I had to walk the length of the salon, and you know, it was we're talking, you know, back in the late 70s, so you can imagine there were the big chairs and you know, the big helmets that everybody had their rollers in and everything. It was
quite the scene.
It really was. And I had to walk the whole distance because the basins were at the other end, and there were mirrors, and this gorgeous looking stylist just happened to look up, and we made eye contact, and of course, you know, I was very young, so I got very embarrassed. But anyway, that was actually our first meeting, because he actually cut my hair.
Wow.
Yes, and it was very interesting because he cut my hair. I went in early in the morning, and he kept coming over and saying, "Oh, I'll just finish off here, and then we'll get to your hair." And at the time, I had this shocking perm. It was absolutely shocking, but I was very on point, I can tell you. But it was shocking. So
looking back now,
yes, it really was very bad. And he came and stood behind me and I can still remember him lifting the hair and saying to me, "And what are we going to do with this lovely head of hair?" And I couldn't tell if he was serious or not. And I just looked at him, and I could see that he was laughing, and I just burst out laughing. I said, "It's just shocking, isn't it? You know, you just got to do something about it for me."
Yeah.
So anyway, I spent most of the morning there, as it turned out, and then he said, "Oh, you know, we're going for lunch. Would you like to come and have lunch? We close for an hour," and that's when they used to close for an hour and take a lunch break. But, you know, I was 16. I said, "Oh no, my mum's expecting me home for lunch."
Damn it.
So that was actually our first meeting, and then we were just really good friends. We would play tennis.
Okay.
He has since told me that he used to let me win. I'm sure I was a better tennis player than that. So, and yeah, we just really hung out as friends. He was 4 years older than me. So, yeah. And then we actually started to date seriously when I had turned 18. And then, yeah, I was engaged, and I got engaged when I was 20 and engaged and married at 20, and then moved to Australia.
So when did you move to Australia?
4 months after we were married.
Oh, wow.
So I had just turned 21 then.
Yeah.
And that was a really big move.
Yes, I would imagine. And was it straight to Perth?
It was. We knew one couple, and they had come to WA. And so we came where we knew this couple.
Yes.
And at the time, this was in 1982,
yes.
Australia were after our professions. They wanted hairdressers and skin therapists.
So you were in the skin therapy industry, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
I trained. So I trained in that career after leaving school.
Yes.
And worked in Jersey before we left, and then from Jersey moved out here. And we were very fortunate. We got work very easily. Australia's been very, very kind to us. We got work very easily. We found somewhere to live, and because Russell got a really good job with a hairdressing company, we got a company car. So we really, within 2 weeks, we kind of landed on our feet, and we were ready to go.
And is that what brought you both to Australia, the work opportunity? Is that what attracted you to Australia in the first place? Or did you just want to leave, Jersey and just have a different sort of experience? What brought you here?
It was more, honestly, it was more about having an adventure.
Okay.
And Australia was somewhere that we had both wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And So yes, we actually we applied to both Australia and Canada because we wanted to do quite a bit of traveling.
Yes.
But Australia got in first. So
And here you are.
And here we are. Yes.
Well, I'm glad you got here first.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the early days here in Australia. Young family, becoming a mom. How was that?
Oh, well, it was obviously becoming a mum was just that's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It was I did miss my family, you know, as I said earlier, we were a very close family, and so I did always find that quite challenging, being so far away from them. We were married for 10 years before we had children. So we had lots of fun, and we've always been in small business. So we actually started in small business quite early on, and then my daughter was born first. Beautiful
Chloe.
daughter. That's Chloe, and then 2 years later we were blessed with Todd.
Yes.
So and then our family was really complete. It was beautiful, and I'm very fortunate in the fact that my parents came to visit.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, regularly. So because being in small business, it was always very difficult for us to get away.
Absolutely.
And go back, and especially at Christmas time, which is always a time that I really would like to have gone, but of course that was our busiest trading time.
Of course.
So it was a blessing that my parents came out. Unfortunately, Russell lost both his parents quite early on in our marriage, so they didn't actually get to see our children. But yes, I've been very blessed in the fact that my parents and my sister and my brother, all my family have come out.
And have they enjoyed the experience here and gone
yes.
wow, this is a beautiful place to live?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents and my sister have been many times.
Oh, It is a beautiful place we live in. So then the unexpected happened with Russell's health. Just talk us through that, losing Russell.
Yes, we were we were actually on our 25th wedding anniversary holiday, and we had taken the children to Club Med because that was part of being our 25 years, was to have it with our children.
Yes.
And so we were on this Club Med holiday, and we had got towards the end of it, and Russell just said to me this, he just came out the bathroom this one day looking really white, and told me that he had blood in his urine. And I can still remember just how quiet it was quite surreal. We just sort of looked at each other, and I think I said something like, well, that's not good. It's just anyway, as soon as we got back, he went to see his doctor, and he had tests, and he was diagnosed with kidney stones, which we were both really relieved about, because I don't know what's in human nature. We tend to immediately go to worst case scenario, which
so true.
I must admit we both did. So kidney stones were a great alternative, and it was really just a question of waiting for Russell to pass these kidney stones.
Yes.
Now, we were, at this point, we had downsized our salon to just a small, intimate salon. Russell and I worked together. It was a lifestyle choice in order to be able to get to all the school events for our children, and still have a family life. We had previously had a much bigger salon with a lot of staff, and that was a lot more stressful. So, and Russell had actually been diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis when he turned 40. So we really needed to reduce his stress, and by making our working environment smaller and making more of a lifestyle choice, that was our reasoning behind that.
Yes.
So, but of course the thing with that is we were super busy. We were super busy. And he was diagnosed, and we just waited really for him to pass these kidney stones. And 18 months later, he still hadn't passed them, and was in a lot of pain. And so, he had obviously been backwards and forwards to the doctor. But finally, after 18 months, he was sent for, more thorough scans. And these were the scans that showed the tumour in his right kidney. And yes, so of course all this happened at Christmas time, which is always the worst time because everything shuts down. And he was in a lot of pain that Christmas with working. We were still working. He had a very, very strong work ethic, my husband, very strong. And he also, I realise now, had a high pain threshold. And I think that comes from years of living with ankylosing spondylitis, which is a very debilitating autoimmune disease. Right. So yes, he just got on with everything. And every year we used to go away down to the southwest of Western Australia. We had these beautiful friends that had a lovely home down there, and they used to let us rent it for 2 weeks in January after our busy Christmas period, so that we really had some quality family time.
Yes.
And this year, at the end of 2008, I asked Russell if he felt he still was up to going, and he insisted that we still went. And we went, and it was actually while we were away that the diagnosis came through, because he had had this biopsy before Christmas.
Yes.
Just to confirm what it was. And they said it was cancer. We needed to get back. He needed to get that kidney out. Yes, we packed up, we came back, and he went into a hospital almost immediately to have the kidney removed.
Yes.
And then it all really unravelled, Annie, very, very quickly. He was sent home after only 3 days, which even now I find staggering, because I don't have any medical background. I'm a skin therapist. I'm not a nurse. But he was sent home because they were closing the ward. I think the specialist was going on holiday, and I was just told to remove the dressing in 3 days' time.
Oh my gosh.
And when they had removed the kidney, they had taken some of his lymph nodes also, because it had filtered out of the kidney into the lymphatic system. And then, so I did change the dressing. And then after that, it just all really snowballed. He just deteriorated really quickly. And I phoned a different specialist, one that he had seen earlier in the picture, and he said I was to just get Russell to emergency straight away, which we did, and that was when he was admitted, and the doctor that admitted him said, Mr. Russell, you're a very sick man. And he was moved from one hospital down to Hollywood, down to the oncology unit. And that was a big relief when he was moved there and actually had an oncology specialist.
Yes.
And we thought that, I always thought he was going to get better. But he had one round of chemo, and he went into a coma, and he died. Yeah. So it was, the whole thing from diagnosis to his passing was 3 weeks. It was very intense and very painful.
Oh, Sally. So now, being a single mother suddenly, and having school-aged children, and being in that point of you've lost a loved one, and just trying to make it to the next day and the next day. And how then did you move from, being in that kind of pain and in that grief to a place of gratitude where you are today?
It took time. Nobody tells you how painful grief is, and grief is actually a physical pain. It's really,
Physical pain.
It's a physical as well as an emotional, and it's
Wow.
all encompassing. And I was very blessed that I had my children. I didn't have any immediate family around me, but I had really fantastic friends. And when you are in a situation like this, you really know who your friends are. And
Yes.
I am so blessed with lovely friends, honestly. And, friends that I could call at 2:00 in the morning to take the kids and I down to Russell. And, so after that, it was really getting up for the children, doing the school run,
Yes.
doing all those normal things. And it was being able to breathe, first of all. It's actually the only time I can honestly say in my life that I was really, really present. I can remember how just how present I was. Everything seemed so surreal, I suppose, and it was far too painful to think about past memories. That was painful, and I was too frightened to think about the future. And the shock brings you into the present moment as well. So it was a question of the next breath and the next breath. And I think I believe it's action over time that allows a person to heal. And so, I had the blessing of my children and having to get up and take care of them. So, and wanting to create some sort of routine. It was really important to me that they didn't feel that they'd lost their mother too. That was always a big driving force for me.
Yes.
Simply because I had friends that I remembered as a teenager, and they used to love coming to our house. My brother and I were friends with the brother and sister, and I've thought about it afterwards. They had lost their father, and their mother, in her pain, was a big drinker. So, she, I held no judgment in this. It's just that was how she coped with her pain, and I witnessed the response and the effect on her children because they were our friends.
Yes.
And I just didn't want that for my own children. And it just was something that popped into my head and I remembered. So that was the thing that really helped me to live each day. My parents were fantastic and sent tickets to us to go back to the UK often, especially that first year.
Yes.
We went back. I had my birthday back there, and we had that first Christmas back there. So those major events,
you didn't spend them alone. You were with family.
And then I began to hear the language that people would say about getting older. And because I'm in the skin industry, I'm open to that. I was still working. I had clients that would come in and, we would talk about sun damage and aging skin, and they would ask me how they could age well, not in a way of staying younger, but in a way to age with grace and dignity. They were interested in moving through their years with dignity and embracing their age.
Yes.
And so I had that on the one side, and then on the other side, I heard the language that people used, and I'd hear things like, "Oh, aging sucks," and "Who'd want to grow old? Who wants to get older?" And I think, well, Russell would. You know, my husband would absolutely love to be here, getting older, watching the children grow up, be with me, doing all that we planned when we were older. And so, I sort of first of all felt a bit indignant about it. And then, of course, I saw the correlation between aging and living. We're alive and we're aging, or we're not here at all. And that is really confronting.
It is.
But a lot of people don't actually think about that. But with the way that our culture is towards physical appearance and getting older.
Oh, spot on, Sally. Yes.
It's all negative connotations. And yet, life is to be lived fully. And an older age is the blessing of a longer life.
So how did the idea of aging gracefully then come in? Because you've got the clients coming in, to your rooms asking how they can age gracefully and with dignity. But then out there, and even I suppose on mainstream media, we're just being given this story, this narrative of aging in a negative way, like it's not a good thing, and try and keep your youthful appearance. How did the idea of aging gracefully come about?
Well, I noticed, first of all, personally, my really deep healing from my pain began when I started to focus on what I was grateful for. And that was really a natural progression, because to stay in the pain was so painful.
Yes.
It was I sort of got to this point where I really just couldn't bear to be in this place any longer.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how it happened, but I suppose I've always been a grateful person, maybe, but I was just so grateful for the love that I'd been shown by my friends around me, and the support, for the children and I. And I became so much more attentive to just everyday things, like the blue sky and my surroundings.
Yes.
I live in living in Western Australia is a beautiful place to live. And so when my focus shifted, I really started to heal, because I was moving into a different direction. And I guess this whole thing that aging and living are the same, it sort of followed on that if I can encourage people to actually be grateful for the age that they are, they're going to be more grateful for their life. And we only get this one precious, irreplaceable life, and really none of us know how many moments in this life we have. And when you've suffered somebody's being cut so short and having to completely rethink my future, because obviously Russell and I had made plans about how our older age was going to look, what we were going to do, and all those
Grow
things.
all together.
Exactly. So I had to rethink all of that. And that's still a work in progress, because that is something that is unfolding. Because that's many, many years. I mean, Russell and I had been married for 27 years when he passed away. And I'd known him for 4 before that, So that's a long time to have somebody in your life, and then to suddenly have to shift gear.
Yes.
But I just honestly believe that if we can shift this perception of aging, we are all going to age much happier, much more fulfilled. We can be grateful for the little things then. And all the things that our culture wants us to view as negative in aging, we can shift it. It's a mindset, and once we actually shift that mindset, it can bed down and it becomes a way of life. And then we become glass half full people.
Yeah, I have to 100% agree with that, because I think spending time with you, and I don't know if I've shared this with you before, Sally, my mindset has really changed about aging. And, I am turning 40 in a few weeks. And there's always been that thing of, ooh, I'm almost 40, I'm getting old. And really I should be grateful, almost tiptoeing away from that and going like, oh gosh, can't tell anyone, that's my age. But I've learned so much just by spending time with you and just being more grateful about, the gift of life and what that means to age is to live. And I can't thank you enough for that, mindset shift that's been happening with me. And so much so that even with my conversations, even with my daughter, my now 7-year-old daughter, who came to me a few months ago, she was in year 1 back then, and asked me a question that really took me by surprise. And she said, Mum, I picked her up from school and she said, Mum, why is it wrong to ask a woman her age? And I said, what are you talking about, Gabby? And she said, well, today we celebrated, a teacher's birthday, and the girls in class, year 1, 6-year-olds asking, hey, so how old are you? And the teacher said, oh, it's not polite to ask a woman her age. And they're little girls who are excited to make it to, the next birthday, and it's such a celebration for them.
Yes.
So for her, it was quite mind-boggling not to be able to understand why you can't even ask somebody's age. And I honestly didn't have an answer for her, because now my mindset is shifting. And I was like, well, there's nothing wrong. You can ask how old somebody is, and we had to give you a call.
Yes, I know, it was lovely.
I know somebody who can help us, Gabby. And I love how you say that, we age from the moment that we are born,
Yes,
and I never looked at it from that aspect. Of course we age from the moment we were born. But, when we're younger, there's that excitement of, it's my 5th birthday, it's my 10th birthday, and turning 18 is such a milestone, because now you're kind of like an adult, and you can drive, and you're legal to even have alcoholic drink. Like you're really trying to get older and become a grown up. And then at some point it's like, hang on, slow down the clock.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like we spend 18 years wanting to be an adult, and then we reach adulthood, which is a sort of melting pot of maturity, and then all of a sudden there's this shift where we, for some reason, want to go backwards. I don't understand it, and that's what I really want to challenge. I want to challenge that with Aging Gratefully, and I honestly believe that gratitude is the virtue that is going to change it, because if we learn to deeply appreciate everything that has brought us to where we are, we learn to appreciate ourselves more, because everything that we have experienced makes up who we are right now, and then that actually allows us to be grateful for the age we are moving forward.
Yes. And you are in the process of writing a book.
I am.
The Art of Aging Gratefully. And I love this book so much. You had this book at your launch a few weeks ago, which I was very blessed to attend. And I have a quote. There's so many beautiful quotes. So this is like a preview, if you like, to the book coming out. And Sally has used some beautiful photos from her son, Todd, and taken quotes from her book. And this little book right here is actually available for sale on your website, which we'll talk about just before we come to the end of this show. But one of the quotes, and I love so many of them, so I had to pick one. This one says, when you realize that you're not entitled to anything, everything you receive in life becomes a gift, including aging. Wow, that's powerful.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm really, that's what makes the difference to me, when it actually touches your heart and means something, because it's true. Life itself is a gift. Every day that we have here is a gift, and we are not entitled to life. We're not entitled to anything within our life, and that's why my tagline is to count your blessings, not your years.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Everything that we experience is a blessing. And we may not feel that it is at the time that we're experiencing it, but there will be a moment in time down the track that you're able to look back and see that it was, and it's helped to shape you, who you are.
So let's talk a little bit about aging gracefully itself. What is it? Because I know those watching have had me mention aging gracefully, but I haven't asked the question, what is aging gracefully?
Well, Aging Gratefully started as a book.
Okay.
It turns out that writing a book is a lot more challenging than I first realised.
Yeah.
So it's evolved from the book, which will be released later this year. And I really want to create a community for women that is a safe space, because lots of things happen for us as we age that we're much better off to accept and be grateful for, rather than denying and wanting to go backwards. So on my website, I write journals, so different articles about different topics to do with aging. I'm a skin therapist, so I'm really interested still in that line also. I'm also a certified life coach now, which I'm very excited about. And I am especially interested in helping women transition their seasons. And one of the most major transitions in a woman's life comes in her mid-years. You know, these are the years where we find our children are growing up. We can become empty nesters. Our parents, if they're still alive, are requiring our help in different ways. So our role as both mother and daughter shifts. Women may find themselves single, either through death or divorce. But even if they don't, it's still a major shift. And as a couple, when your children have left home, that again is a shift. It is a massive season in our lives. And the transition is the season between seasons. It's sort of in moving and shifting roles, and it can be messy, and it can really make you feel insecure and doubt yourself. And I do see that our culture and society is not helpful, because many women will say that they start to feel invisible because they are getting older, and they feel that our society and culture does not appreciate them. So this is what I really want to challenge through Aging Gratefully. I want to challenge that ageism, prejudice, because that's really what it is.
It is.
It's a manner of thinking that is negative and is a prejudice. And ageism is very real in our society, and it's very real in some work forces, and it needs to be challenged, because as we age, we bring so much wisdom with us, so much. And if we spend too much of our energy focusing on, wanting to be younger and being threatened by the prejudice of ageism, we actually miss out on the wisdom that we have to offer, because we're not focused on it. And we can learn from each other between generations, and I want that for my own daughter. I want my daughter to enjoy her life the whole way through, as I'm sure you do for yours. Without worrying about turning a particular age, moving into another generation. Everything has value, and it's up to us to enjoy every moment of the journey through those generations.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Now, wanted to ask about self-limiting beliefs. As you know, my work now has a lot to do with trying to help people to unshackle their self-limiting beliefs so that they can begin to live the life that they know they were created for, a life of impact and purpose. What are some of the self-limiting beliefs that you've heard for yourself that you've had to kind of break free and unshackle from, so that you can begin to live a life of impact, especially with the work that you're doing with Aging Gratefully?
Well, the biggest self-limiting belief for myself was that I couldn't do it alone. I've been with Russell for so many years,
Yes.
and we'd always been a couple. So we worked together as well as had our home life together and our family life together. Everything has been together. So to suddenly have to step out alone, that has probably been the biggest one for me. Because I'm also I'm a baby boomer, so I'm in that generation between my mum was very, very much an amazing homemaker. My dad was in business and she was his 100% support. So her role as her role model for me was different to the one that I need to play moving forward. Mm-hmm. So, I had to look elsewhere for those role models moving forward. And I have had to learn to go inwards and trust myself, believe that I can do this, and I can. Yes. And the more that action really is the thing that helps to instill that. Just starting small at the beginning for me, having to take the kids to school, all that I knew how to do. So that was a good place to start because I could do that.
Yes.
And then moving forward, opening the business again and working it by myself. Again, I know my profession inside and out. So I guess the thing was, without realizing it, as we're having this conversation, I'm just it's dawning on me that I started with things I knew I could do.
Yeah.
And by doing those things that I knew I could do them successfully. So then that does give you confidence when you've finished. Exactly. Yeah. So it's layers. And but definitely that would be the biggest, the self-doubt. And you know what? I haven't completely got it under control.
It's an evolving.
It is
process.
It is. Yeah. That's exactly right.
And so what's the future for Aging Gratefully? What are you thinking you want to do with this platform, this community? What are your dreams?
Oh, I've got big dreams for it, Annie, because I just really feel, and the reason that my dreams have become so big is because since I have been talking to people about it, women are so on board. Like it really strikes a chord. And I actually don't think I knew how much it was going to strike a chord that it has. So I see that this is a message that really needs to be get out there. So I want to go out and speak about it. I really have a heart for helping women, and I have a heart for helping women navigate loss. And there's lots of different loss that we come across, particularly in our mid-years. And I feel really passionate about that because I have felt the pain, and I just want to be able to support during the pain, because it's something that we have to navigate, but I would like to offer some support in that. What I'm so excited about with my coaching certification is that this really allows me to empower women to move forward. And sometimes we just need that person under your wings, lifting you up, just giving you that little propulsion, telling you can do it, and empowering you to take it on yourself. Absolutely. So that you then can spread your own wings and fly and be set free. That's what I want.
It is such a game changer. Having somebody believe in you,
yes.
it just propels you to do so much more.
It does.
So being a life coach, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a better person to do what you're doing and supporting women who need that kind of support. And so somebody who's watching this and thinking to themselves, I need to get in touch with Sally. Like, I need to have this conversation with you, or where can I find out more about you, or I want to invite you to come and speak in our community, how can they get in touch with you?
The best place to start is my website, aginggratefully.com.au. On there is my email address, which is hello@aginggratefully.com.au. I'm on social media, Facebook and Instagram. So please, because that's the only way to make the community, is for people to actually reach out to me. And I want to make sure that Aging Gratefully continues to be relevant, and it can only be relevant if I get the feedback from the people involved in the community. So
yeah, absolutely. And so what's your message of hope? There might be somebody who's watching this, and maybe they're in that place of grief where they can't see tomorrow, or they're just living in that moment of pain. What's your message of hope to that particular group of people, or even people who are at that stage where they feel like, I'm grown old and I don't feel like I am needed, or I'm wanted, or I'm valued as much as I was in my younger years? What's your message of hope?
Taking action is really important, and one of the biggest things for me was being of service, because when you give of yourself, even if it's something really small, which when you are in the depth of pain, it can be very challenging to give, because your pain is so great. But just a smile can actually really make a difference to somebody else's day, and always makes a difference to yourself. As you move down the path of healing, and this is something that I talk about a lot with Aging Gratefully, as you move down the path and you get stronger, you're actually able to look back on whatever the trauma was, or the experience, or the mistake, or whatever, regardless of how big or deep it is. And you can look at it in a different context when you're sat where you are down the track. And that's when I talk about the harvesting pearls. You can pick something out of it that you can be grateful for. And for me, I look at all my years with Russell, and I am so grateful for those years that I had with him. And by focusing on being grateful for those years that I had with him, it takes away some of the regret that I don't have him now as I move forward. And it shifts the way I can carry this grief moving forward. It allows me to be more present and to plan for my future, to think about the legacy that I want to leave and that sort of thing. So it's just really important at the beginning to just take some action. It doesn't matter how small it is. And then as you move down, you can start really moving forward and look back on it differently, so that it does serve you. It's all about using all our experiences as we move forward to live more fully.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Sally, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being a part of Uplifting Studios TV. You've uplifted me. You have truly uplifted me. And I just want you to know that you are so needed. Your work here is so needed. And I just have a feeling deep in my heart that the work that you're doing is going to move a great number of women. You're needed, you're in the right space. I cannot think of anyone, better to champion this and run with it. So thank you so much for your time, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Uplifting Studios TV, go ahead and subscribe and click on the little bell so you never miss an episode when we post one. Now, if you're looking for ways to unshackle your self-limiting beliefs, head over to upliftingstudios.com.au and you will find lots of resources to help you live your life with more impact and purpose. My name is Annie Gishuru. Thank you so much for watching Uplifting Studios TV. Until next time, take care.